Hello, ghosties. I'm Chance Lee,
And I'm Amanda McAvoy.
and this is That's So Gothic, a movie podcast about girls, guys, and haunted houses. Amanda, I'm going to read you a review about today's movie from
Okay.
Letterboxd. This movie is so meta since Willem Dafoe is a vampire in real life as well. That's from 2015.
Yep.
And I'm going to read you that's the top review for this movie we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Here's the second most popular review. Bet the makeup artists saved so much money working with Dafoe since he kind of already looks like a vampire. That's from
He's a
2021.
Oh my goodness.
They're the same review.
That's
Like it's the
he
same joke.
It's the same joke. But honestly,
The
what else
same
can you
joke.
say? He is a vampire.
What else can you say? What else can you say about Willem Dafoe in Shadow of the Vampire?
Roll camera. Iris in. Begin.
It's been a fitful night, but you wake refreshed. What is that beside you? It's a book about vampires. Nosferatu.
Director F.W. Murnau had an obsession to create the world's most realistic vampire movie.
Meet Count Olog.
The overture to our Symphony of Horrors.
He dug up an actor
I'd like some makeup.
Well, you don't get him.
who didn't just play the part,
But you're not feeding. No, you're not drinking her blood.
he lived it.
What is the matter with you?
Where did you find him, really?
From Lionsgate Films and producer Nicolas Cage comes the haunting tale of the uncompromising,
You will have no close-ups now.
the unimaginable, and the undead. Academy Award nominees John Malkovich
I will finish my picture.
and Willem Dafoe.
This is hardly your picture any longer.
Shadow of the Vampire.
How dare you destroy my photographer? Why not the script girl?
I'll eat her later.
Released in the year 2000, Shadow of the Vampire was directed by Elias Merhige, and it was written by Stephen Katz. It stars John Malkovich as F.W. Murnau, the director of the 1922 silent classic Nosferatu. Willem Dafoe as Max Schreck, not the villain from Batman Returns,
Yep.
but the actor who played Nosferatu. Eddie Izzard as Gustav van Wangenheim, the star of the movie within the movie. A brief appearance by Carey Elwes as
Mhm.
German cinematographer Fritz Wagner, and some others. This is a dramatized version of the making of the silent film Nosferatu that imagines Max Schreck as a real vampire.
Mhm.
So this was a very small independent film. It made $11.2 million against an $8 million budget.
Oh wow.
It has great critical reviews, 82% critical tomato and a 74% audience tomato. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars.
Hmm.
And he said that the movie does an uncanny job of recreating the visual feel of Murnau's film. There are shots that look the way moldy basements smell.
Oh, very descriptive. I like it.
Mhm. And this movie received 2 Academy Award nominations,
Mhm.
one for makeup and one for Best Supporting Actor for Willem Dafoe.
As he deserved.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he did not win. The acting award went to Benicio del Toro for Traffic, and the makeup award went to The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
That's fair, honestly.
Christine Baranski as a sexy who
Yep.
deserves all of the awards.
All of the awards. Yeah.
Love that sexy who. But what did you think of this movie, Shadow of the Vampire?
I really enjoyed it. I went into it thinking I was really going to like it, so my expectations were actually pretty high, and I would say it met them. I love Willem Dafoe in this. He is really, really good. He the way that he delivers some of his lines is the funniest thing I think I've ever witnessed in my life. Like he just has like you just he I'm like at a loss for words right now. Like you forget it's Willem Dafoe. You forget that it's like like you get so transported into this movie within a movie that you just think that this is just the way that he acts all the time, and it feels like that. And it's I really enjoyed it. I think that it maybe had some like unnecessary parts kind of, but like I think in the grand context of the whole movie, like I didn't love the whole, it's kind of confusing because they move locations so often, but I think that's also realistic to how the movie was filmed and to the filmmaking process. So that was, I guess, maybe my only gripe, but I really enjoyed it.
Tell us what you're wearing for the podcast today.
I have a Willem Dafoe shirt. He's edited. It's like one of those floating head shirts. It's very golden and gangster. I actually don't know what a lot of these movies he's from are. I see the one where he plays Van Gogh. That one's very obvious. Platoon. Yeah. And then the other ones I'm not as sure about. They're not as obvious. I'm going to have to watch all of Willem Dafoe's filmography.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever told you why I picked the school I did to go to grad school?
No.
I was really torn between two schools. I'd been accepted to I was accepted to two schools for grad school, and I was really stuck between two of them, and I was doing a ton of research into them, just trying to like get a feel for them. And I found out that Willem Dafoe graduated from the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. And so I said, that's the school I'm going to go to. And it was. So we share an alma mater. I love Willem Dafoe.
I love that so much.
I literally put my future in his hands. And it was a great school. You know, Willem Dafoe, if you're listening, we should chat sometime, because that was really funny, actually. When I went to orientation in Milwaukee, I met with my advisor. The man looked exactly like Willem Dafoe, to the point where I was like, is Willem Dafoe like character acting? Like, is he like preparing for a role? Like,
or he just volunteers as advisor during his downtime.
But the guy's name, I can't remember his last name, or maybe this was his last name. I don't think it was, though. I think it was his first name, was Wolfgang. And I was like, you're going to tell me Willem Dafoe is not using the name Wolfgang to shadow as an advisor at his alma mater? And I was searching to see what his next movie coming out was going to be, because I was like, he has to be doing research. He had a gap in his teeth, just like Willem Dafoe.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So anyways,
it could be like one of those hidden camera shows where like you think, you know, you like the one where the guy's on jury duty and James Marsden's there.
Yes.
You know, it's like that, but with Willem Dafoe.
Yes, I'm the only one in the room like, you guys, that's Willem Dafoe. What are you talking about?
You're the only one not in on the joke.
That's Wolfgang. What are you talking about? Anyways, so I love Willem Dafoe. I think he's a great actor. I just really enjoy him. He's one of those actors that I love seeing his face when it appears in things, but it also doesn't distract me, like, because he just does such a good job, I think, adapting to the roles he takes. I love him so much.
I agree. I think on a scale of 1 to 5, this is like a 6 or 7 star Willem Dafoe performance.
Yes, seriously.
To me, it's like a 1-star movie, though. I did not like this movie. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I hated it.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I loved it so much. I had so much fun.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad one of us did.
Wow.
And I tried. I went in thinking I would like it as well.
Yeah.
And almost immediately I was kind of put off. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I was like, well, let me watch it with the commentary. I got it on the DVD, the digital versatile disc from my local library.
Yes.
And I watched it with the commentary, and I disliked it even more.
Really?
Yeah. The director to me had his head so far up his own ass, and like his voice practically echoed on the commentary. He was so
Oh,
far up his own ass. Like it was
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
like
Yeah.
but he and it's frustrating, I think, because he has really good ideas, and I feel like I agree with him philosophically on how he views filmmaking. I
Mhm.
just don't think he succeeded in this movie. And
Mm.
he knows a lot about filmmaking, which I'm always impressed with someone who knows so much about filmmaking. I guess you can learn without doing, but he's only made like 3 or 4 movies and none of them
Yeah.
very successful. But he knows a lot about shots and all this stuff. So he has this great wealth of
Mm.
knowledge, and he knew a lot about the production of Nosferatu, and recreating a lot of that in this movie must have been
Yeah.
a lot of fun. But then he would talk about, for me, it was the Willem Dafoe character is so good.
Yeah.
The John Malkovich character is there,
Yeah.
and everyone else might as well be like a it's like when you play a video game, like an old video
Mm.
game, and the stands are populated with just like little flat people that have like
Yeah.
4 frames of animation. Like that can be the whole supporting cast of this
Yeah.
movie.
That is fair. I will say a lot of the general German people got very mixed up in my head. Actually, isn't one of them, their name is Wolfgang?
I think there is a Wolfgang in this.
Oh my God, Willem Dafoe picked up the name from this
Mhm.
movie. But anyways, I did really like Carey Elwes though. How did you feel
Okay.
about him at least?
I think by that point I had kind of
Yeah,
checked out,
because he
and
comes in
he at
later.
least he comes in really late.
Yeah.
He does a couple things, but not a
Hmm.
lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, just none of the characters really had a personality. And when
Mm.
the filmmaker talked a lot about Albin Grau, who
Hmm.
is played by Udo Kier in this movie,
Okay.
and he's the producer,
Yeah.
and he's the one who's in it the most, I would say, out of
Yeah. Okay.
besides Defoe and Malkovich. And he would share the director on the commentary would share little details about how he would keep a tarot deck with him on set and do tarot readings for people. I'm like, why isn't this in this movie? Like,
Yeah.
there was so many cool little details that he knew about the production of the original movie, and I
Right.
just couldn't understand why they weren't in this movie. And
Yeah.
do we ever get any like motivation for why Murnau casts a real vampire other than just an actor?
That is true. Not really. You know, I didn't think that much about this movie.
I want you to still like it, but
I know. And I do like it, but I can see where it needs the improvement in that areas. I think I was just so enthralled with Willem Dafoe. And I personally actually like John Malkovich in this a lot too. Um I loved so growing up I had what channel was it? It's not Fuse. Oh my goodness. It's like a production company now, I think. But they would always play these different movies. And one of them, like I remember, was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. That was like my favorite movie for a while, literally just because this channel would play it like once a week.
with Sam
And I was
Rockwell?
with Sam Rockwell. But they also would play Being John Malkovich. And
Okay.
I don't remember anything about that movie. I remember maybe pretending to love it when I was younger because I thought it was so cool and deep and everything. Um, but all of this to say, I feel like John Malkovich kind of has like a little spot in my heart for that because I just remember that movie a little bit. But I like him in this movie. I thought he was kind of like eccentric and weird, and I liked how he always like kind of like talked with a lot of gravitas. I think that's what John Malkovich is like kind of known for, is like being very like, I don't know, he commands a room, which I mean, he plays a good director. But I definitely agree with your point though about a lot of the characters not really having any personality. Because yeah, like if you had asked me to identify any of the like little producers, the cameramen, the the writer, like I could not point them out of a lineup.
Have you seen the original Nosferatu?
I did, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's hard to judge because it's like, it's obviously not a movie that we're used to nowadays. It's kind of its, own thing, but it's genuinely creepy.
I watched parts of it. I had trouble focusing just with my attention span and it being a silent film. But there's even a little Renfield type character in it who I was like, why isn't that person in this movie? That could add some color to it.
That would have been nice too. Yeah.
And I was thinking about this a lot because a lot of times I complain that movies are not subtle anymore, but this movie is almost so subtle that you don't even know it happened.
Yeah.
And I wanted just a little bit more of, I don't know, something. Like I wanted, like, I feel like the movie at least needs to let you know that what it's trying to do. And I feel like this movie did not ever let me know what it was trying to do.
That's a good point. I mean, when I found out, because I did the same thing, I requested a DVD from the library. It might have been the same one you had, because I can't imagine there's that many copies in our consortium. When I got the DVD case and it, like, the quote on the front said something like a deliciously funny movie, I was like, really? That's not what I was expecting. Like, I didn't, and I don't know. So here's my question for you: is do you think it was trying to be funny?
That is such a good question. Here's my theory.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. So the director knows a lot about the making of movies, and by that I mean like setting up the camera and shots.
Yeah.
I don't think his strength is in directing actors. And I think when actors end up on a set with a director who is not good with actors, you end up with two camps. You end up with actors who kind of struggle because they're not being told what to do. And then you end up with actors who are going to do whatever the fuck they want because they realize they have the creative freedom to take control. And Willem Dafoe just did whatever he wanted to do with this. And it's genius. Like, he's so good. So whatever, I think there are parts of it. Willem Dafoe is so funny in this.
Yeah.
Like, so I think he's trying to be funny. I don't know if the movie.
Like, I think he's just committed so much. And I think the other actors are kind of phoning it in, which makes Willem Dafoe's performance so much funnier because it feels like, I think of the scene where they're sitting around the fire. It's like two of the guys, again, is it like the producer, the writer? I'm not sure, but just two of the German guys. And Willem Dafoe comes over, as Nosferatu, and they start asking him like, oh, have you ever read Dracula? And he's like, the thing that made me the saddest was, Dracula can't do chores anymore. And he's like talking about like, just like all of his servants. He didn't have servants. And then he like grabs a bat out of the air and rips its head off.
And he eats that bat like he eats that bat like Bill Cosby enjoying a pudding pop. He's like, he does the like eyes rolling back in the head, the like he just loves that bat.
And it's like, again, like, I wonder if the direction was exactly the way that he was, like, that is the direction he was given, but he just went, I'm gonna take it to 12 and it's gonna be insane and it's gonna make the audience laugh with like almost uncomfortability, but it's just it's insane. So yeah, I struggle with, was this supposed to be a comedy, or was it just that like Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich like took it so far and everyone in the movie was an audience to them, and so it just made it very funny. My
favorite Willem Dafoe part is when the actress notices that he doesn't have a reflection and she starts screaming, and everyone's freaking out. And he's just like running around the room, like he's trying to hide, maybe, but there's nothing to hide behind. And like the way he's scurrying with his weird hands and everything, like
His eyes are so big. Like to me, that kind of felt like that's how I play video games, like running around, like not knowing what to do.
Oh, it's so good. His whole body language. It's I can't. I don't recommend this movie. But at the same time, I think people should watch it because if you just fast forward through the parts where Willem Dafoe isn't in them, like you just have to watch every scene with him in it.
Yes. Yeah, like this is one of those movies where, again, I really enjoyed it, so I would recommend it. But it's also not going to be like a so bad it's good movie. Like, don't think it's going to be like that. Because I think, but watch this movie with maybe like a glass of wine or something.
Yes.
You know, play a video
Loosen
game
up
while
a
you're
bit.
watching. Yeah, exactly. And then watch Willem Dafoe scurry around because he's very funny in it. And but he's also so genuinely good and so genuinely creepy. Like the first scene where you see him coming out from like this dark cave is like genuinely creepy. He's so good.
He's good. The makeup is great. He has these abnormally long fingers with these gross long fingernails. He's just so skeletal looking. His fingernails will make these he'll kind of clack them together.
Which I have had fake fingernails one time and I do that too. So I get it.
That's so funny.
I like can't allow myself to have fake fingernails anymore because I'm the person who's like tapping them on the desk. And I got them for prom. I would do that too. I got like these big fake acrylic nails for prom, but I was still working at Market Basket at the time, which if you're not from the region, it's a supermarket. I shouldn't even call it a supermarket. It's a grocery store. It's whatever. But I remember I used to love like tapping the buttons with my big acrylic nails. I'd be like,
oh yeah.
It was so good. But yeah, I kind of want to get really long ones again just to play Nosferatu, play Max Shrek.
Oh, you should.
Yeah. He looked like he was having fun.
Well, I do think Willem Dafoe is one of the best actors of multiple generations. He's been around a long time. And I was tempted when I was writing my notes to write Sir Willem Dafoe, but I realized he's not British and we don't have the equivalent of knighthood. So he can't be a sir. And I thought John Malkovich was British, and would also be a sir, but he is not British either.
Really?
But I feel like if he was British, he would be a sir.
Is he American?
Because maybe he's in Shakespeare and stuff a lot.
Yeah,
he was born in Illinois.
But to be fair, I bet Willem Dafoe is probably from around. If he went to Wisconsin,
he's from Michigan. Wisconsin.
Oh,
you were right.
Yeah.
I had upside down dyslexia, the W-I to M-I. You know, I flipped him in my head. He was born in Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, because I know he only went there for undergrad. I got my master's degree from there, but who's keeping score? Willem Dafoe.
Maybe there'll be an alumni just of all ages event.
Oh my god, I would be so excited. I would be so excited.
So I was Googling what is the American equivalent of knighthood. And the closest thing we have here is the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Okay. That's actually what I was going to say. Yeah.
Oh, look at you. I forgot this existed.
Yeah.
Even though, according to Wikipedia, it is the highest civilian award of the United States. And it is bestowed by the decision of the president to any person recommended to the president for award of the medal, or any person selected by the president upon their own initiative. So the president can give it to whoever they want. It was made to recognize people who have made a contribution to 1, the security or national interests of the United States, 2, world peace, or 3, cultural or other significant public or private endeavors. Willem Dafoe, all 3. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel secure with him. And
I was going to say, yep.
So Do you know if Willem Dafoe has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
I'm gonna assume no.
Well, I'm going to quiz you. I'm going
Okay.
to name famous people, and you're
Okay.
going to tell me if they have a Presidential Medal of Freedom or not.
Okay, I'm excited.
So notable recipients, before we get started,
Yeah.
include Tom Hanks,
Mhm.
Rita Moreno, and Denzel Washington.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. First, talk show host Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, yeah. I bet he does.
He has one from Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
Yes. Talk show host Phil Donahue.
I don't know who that is. I'm gonna say no.
He has one, and Joe Biden gave it to him.
Who is he?
I love that you said who is he, because he was so big in the early 80s and then has
Oh.
completely disappeared.
That's so funny.
I didn't even know he was still alive.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the awards can be given posthumously. But
okay.
Phil Donahue is still alive. He's 88.
Wow.
He kind of started the talk show boom of the 80s.
Okay.
His pretended to be a little classier. He was like the male Oprah.
Oh, okay.
Or I guess
see.
Oprah was probably called the female Donahue. 'cause
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
she came a little later. Okay. Talk show host Regis Philbin.
Yes.
No, which is
What?
so rude.
Oh, is it because? Well, it probably doesn't matter. Isn't he Canadian?
Is he Canadian?
Oh no, I'm thinking of Alex Trebek, but maybe Regis Philbin is too.
Oh. I
but
think he's
I
I
don't
think
know
he's
if it matter-
American.
matter- Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
So baseball player Jackie Robinson.
Yes.
Yes, awarded by Ronald Reagan.
Oh.
Baseball player Babe Ruth.
Ooh. Yes.
Yes, awarded posthumously by Donald J. Trump.
Okay.
Baseball player Ted Williams.
Teddy Williams. No.
Yes, awarded by George H.W. Bush.
That makes sense.
Canceled comedian Bill Cosby.
Yes.
He does, awarded by George W. Bush.
I think I remember that, yeah.
Dead comedian Bob Hope.
Ooh. I don't know. No.
Yes, by Lyndon B. Johnson.
Oh.
Famous comedian's husband, Desi Arnaz.
Ooh. Yes.
No, Desi does not have one, but Lucille Ball does.
Haha.
Icon Dolly Parton.
Yes.
No.
No.
She's turned it down twice. Trump tried to give it to her twice, and she turned it down the first time because her husband was ill, and the second time because of the COVID pandemic, she said.
What an icon.
So there's still hope.
Yeah.
Icon Elvis Presley.
Ooh. I hope yes.
Yes, awarded posthumously by Donald J. Trump.
God damn it.
Just so weird.
Oh.
Icon Big Bird.
Yes.
No, none for Big Bird.
Oh, I could
None
see
for-
Obama doing that.
None for Jim Henson either.
Wow,
which
that's
I was surprised.
Yeah.
Dutch abstract artist Willem de Kooning.
Yes.
Yes, awarded by LBJ.
Oh.
And icon Willem Dafoe.
So I'm gonna say no.
No, he does not.
He deserves one. He deserves multiple.
I went in, I hit Control F, I typed Willem and it said 1. I went, and then I hit enter to go to it and I said, who the fuck is Willem de Kooning?
And it's so funny because if you had, I'm assuming, typed DA, it would have still.
Yes. So he makes these abstract, nude women.
Great.
Like most male artists. Anytime.
Real, yeah.
So, yes. So hopefully Willem Dafoe will get one.
He deserves one.
But let's talk about... Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask, does he have an Oscar? I don't know if he does.
A great question.
I feel like I've never seen him up on the stage.
He, as we said, was nominated but did not win for this movie. He has received 4 Oscar nominations, and
Oh,
he has
wow.
not won.
He deserves one. Maybe he'll get nominated again for the new Nosferatu coming out.
Yes, that's one of the. I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot. That's one of the reasons we chose this, is because
Yeah.
there's the new
Yes.
Dave Eggers directed Nosferatu, but Willem Dafoe is playing more of like a
He's the
almost like a Van Helsing type.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then Nosferatu, Max Shrek, if you will be the clown, right?
Is it the clown?
I thought it was
Skarsgård?
Skarsgård. I feel like it
The cute
is.
clown?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that little chipmunk looking clown.
Oh, yeah, he is pretty great actually.
It is him. Okay, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So let's talk more about the cast of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's not much to talk about. I just want to mention them.
Yeah.
So Udo Kier, I learned, was in some erotic horror movies in the 70s.
Oh.
Like with titles like Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood for Dracula. So I must watch those.
Of course.
Carey Elwes was also in Dracula briefly, the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula. He was one of the guys. There's a few guys.
Yeah.
And speaking of Coppola, this movie was produced by Nicolas Cage.
By his like production, and he actually I think originally wanted to play Max Shrek, but Willem Dafoe was like, I want to, and he was like, okay.
Good choice on Nicolas Cage's part. This would have been a very different movie with Nicolas Cage.
Well, and because Nicolas Cage got his wish with that more recent movie that came out.
That's right.
And
with
I
Nicholas
never watched
Hoult.
it. Yeah, and I never watched it, but I think it was terrible.
I tried to watch it and I turned it off.
Yeah. So, he did finally get his wish, but I'm glad that he put it off until then.
Yes. It looked, the trailers for that one looked good, but the humor did not land for me.
Yeah.
And then we have Eddie Izzard, who plays the actor in the movie and just like disappears. Where did he go? Like the movie just kind of, it's like he ran out of time. He had another commitment. He's like, I've got to go do some stand up back in London. And he flew off and they just wrote his character out of the movie. But he sometimes goes by Susie now. And she posted a statement on Twitter, X, saying, I prefer Susie, but don't mind Eddie. And I prefer she, her, but I don't mind he, him. So no one really can get it wrong unless they call me Kenneth or Sabrina. I am remaining Eddie Izzard in public. Thank you. So
interesting.
So they still go by Eddie Izzard they're doing a national tour right now as Eddie Izzard. Okay. And I always knew them as this gender bending.
I was gonna say,
British comic.
I wasn't that familiar with them, but that's kind of the one thing that I knew. Is I think actually, don't they have like a really famous like picture or something? Maybe it's like an album cover where it's like one half they're dressed as a man and then one half they're dressed as a woman. Yeah. Yes. I don't know why that image is like so burned into my brain, but good for her.
And she's very looks kind of like David Bowie.
Oh, I love it.
That androgynous female. Yeah.
Yes.
Or like, and I mean this is a compliment, or like Gozer from Ghostbusters, like when Sigourney, like that's the vibe.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the ultimate compliment, honestly.
Right, I think so. So let's talk about the Gothic elements of this film. Gothic films have 4 elements: a girl, a guy, a house, and a haunt. I think our guy is Murnau.
Yeah.
Not sure what his motivations are, to be completely fair. He gets this vampire and says he'll be in the movie and then he'll let him eat the actress.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He's, just a kind of kooky, crazy director who wants a kooky, crazy movie. He's always wearing his big old thick glasses. Trying to think of, there was I can't remember. Just skip that. Skip that train of thought. I feel like there was a good line that he had where he was talking to the actress and he said something about making movies. I'm sure it was profound at the time, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, that's the guy. He gathers all the people.
He gathers the people. I saw the girl in this case. There is Greta, the actress, but basically the whole crew is kind of trapped on this production and
that is true.
sometimes getting bitten by a vampire.
Yeah. Where do you think Max Shrek could be a girl? He just wanted to live in his cave.
He could be.
You could stretch it. Yeah. He was doing fine. He's living in his cave, sad that he didn't have servants, and just trying to live his life, his undead
being
life.
Used. Yeah, he's being used by this director. The director of the movie, Elias Merhige, he says that he sees the director of a film as God.
Oh, jeez.
And someone who is capable of creating worlds.
Wow, that's not at all self-inflated.
That was a lot. One thing he does talk about on the commentary is how he believes that the motion picture camera changed the world. And that I do believe, and had never thought about it in that way before, and how this was an invention that changed the course of humanity. And I was like, that's a really cool idea that this movie does not explore at all. But it's great that he thinks that.
Yeah. I think that it takes a director with a lot of confidence to direct a movie about making movies. And it's not always the best placed confidence.
Right. And this is a director who has not made a lot of movies. So they might have the confidence, but they don't have the experience. And does the movie think Murnau is a good director?
That's a good question. I think I kind of see him as being portrayed in this movie as like a very tortured artist type, especially with the end, the climax, where he's, crazily cranking and literally people are dying and, and I think it's the last scene, right? Where the people come in, they rush in, the son kills Nosferatu, and he says, he literally won't stop filming until someone gets the clapboard or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think this movie is trying to make him out to be a good director, but maybe not a good person. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
What's your general feeling on how he's portrayed?
I agree with that's what the movie and this director, that's what he thinks.
Yes.
I think he's the bad director and a bad person. Whereas the director of this movie actually seemed kind of cool. Seems like I would want to hang with this guy. I just don't want to watch another one of his movies.
Yeah. Do you have any idea? Because something else I will say in retrospect now that bothered me about this movie is, was it extremely common in this era to literally only be able to take one take? Because that's how they made every single scene. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, they weren't taking 100 takes, I'm sure.
Right.
But he was so obsessed. Maybe the director in real life was like that. There are directors still to this day who try to, they think it's more natural when you just do one take. But that kind of bothered me. It made the movie feel very tense. It made the movie making process tenser than it already was, with a literal blood-sucking vampire in it. That would be more stressful for me than acting alongside a vampire, is if I had to nail it on the first try.
I bet if it depends, I guess it depends on how much money they have, and how much film they have.
Right, because they physically have to buy it.
It's a physical resource, yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see it if it's like a cheap production. They're like, oh, we've got one shot at this. Like, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. I couldn't do it.
I think it would be fun.
You're up to the challenge.
I'm up to the challenge. I wouldn't want to be eaten by the vampire though. I'd be
Yeah.
like,
Not
I'm going
ideal.
back to London. Yeah.
Yeah.
They filmed this movie in Luxembourg, according to a blog that I saw, but I could find no other information on any of the filming locations.
Yeah. It does look like a very old castle converted into an inn. I think they did a pretty good job. I don't really remember the setting of Nosferatu besides like the iconic scene of him like coming out of sort of the stone wall and the round door. So I mean, I think it was pretty good. Another sort of and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier with there were so many different location changes, is like close to the end of the movie it's revealed that Max Schreck doesn't want to get on a boat, so they have to build a physical boat. And again, I don't know if they did that for the real movie, but it adds this weird like just big boat looming in the distance. It's kind of funny.
Yes.
So I actually like I didn't like the plot point, but I kind of like what it did, where it's literally just like, again, thinking of the scene where they're sitting outside by the fire and he comes over. The whole time there's like this big boat off in the distance, but like on the ground, like on a cliff. It's kind of funny.
That was funny. I did like the boat. I didn't get it. I think part of it is their vampire lore. Vampires can't cross running water, but
okay.
Like, but I guess they can in an airplane. Like, I guess you can cross the running water if you're
yeah.
significant distance above it.
Right. Right.
I thought that was a odd way. It's kind of like the reverse version of Us. Like, you can cross the running water if you're really high in the sky.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
So our haunt, I have a serious answer and I have a joke answer.
Okay.
Which do you want first?
Do the serious one first.
Vampires.
Of course. Got a vampire.
I will say that Roger Ebert said that vampires, for some reason, are funny as well as frightening. And he says maybe that's because the conditions of their lives are so absurd.
That's honestly a really good point. Bringing up the part where he's like, you know, commiserating for Dracula because he doesn't have servants, because he doesn't know how to do chores. Like, it is this kind of funny, like, vampires are often portrayed as these very like hoity-toity, you know, Europeans, but they're like dusty and old, and so they get knocked down a couple pegs. It's gonna be funny.
It's like Ebert foresaw what we do in the shadows.
Yeah, it is.
So my joke answer for the haunt, method actors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, this is a movie about a director who's a control freak.
Yep.
Trying to get a method actor
to
do what he wants him to do. And that's his struggle.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like, a good haunt of this movie would be like the conflict between the production and the stars, you know? Like, I love it when Max Schreck is like talking about, they're having like their sort of big argument in the cave, and you know, the director's like, stop eating people, like literally just stop, like, you know, I did all of this for you, I brought all of these people here for you, like, you have to stop eating people. And Max is like, maybe we don't need the writer. Like, very coyly, like. And the director's just like, God damn it, like, so mad. And I just love their like conflict, their little back and forth, because it never gets to Max Schreck's head, because because he's a vampire, but B, you could say it's because he's a method actor. The whole production revolves around him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This whole movie does.
I can't wait for, in the year 2100, there'll be a movie called Shadow of the Joker, and it'll be about the making of Suicide Squad. But like Jared Leto was actually a serial killer. Like
And it'll be better than the Suicide Squad.
oh, so much
Yeah.
so. But people will go back to watch Suicide Squad. Like they'll try to
Yes.
find it. They'll have to dig out a DVD player because it won't be on anything,
Yes.
in 80 years, and they'll try to watch it like it was this relic, like it was the
Right.
Nosferatu of the
Yeah.
time.
They'll watch it on like Canopy, like the
Mhm.
thoughtful entertainment.
Thoughtful
platform.
entertainment.
Because like that's how I watched Nosferatu, and it's only on there because it's like old and black and white.
Oh, I should have watched it on that. I was watching it on Tubi, so
Oh.
I would get interrupted with commercials.
Which had to have been very jarring.
It is very jarring when you're watching a silent film and it's just music, and then there's like, a commercial for hemorrhoid cream or whatever
Yeah,
comes
it's like
on.
Jake from State Farm here.
That's a better one.
Yeah.
I like Doug and the Limu Emu.
I do too. I really enjoy them. And they're my dad's favorite. So every time I see them, I'm like, Dad, come in here.
There's a hot guy in those commercials, and when he says Liberty Bibberty, I pee a little bit. I pee a little bit every time he says Liberty Bibberty.
He's very handsome, yeah.
He's very handsome and very stupid, just like I like him.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think about the gothicness of this film? Is it so gothic, goth-ish, or no gothic?
This is such a weird movie because like Nosferatu is gothic. Like it's 100% gothic. I don't know if this technically qualifies as gothic because it's not it's a movie about making a gothic movie. And yeah, it kind of has the gothic elements because there is like the real vampire. But like I would be more apt to put this in like goth-ish personally.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel?
I waver between goth-ish and just no gothic.
Yeah.
It doesn't really seem interested in the gothic elements. It's too focused on just, like you said, the conflict between the actor and the star.
Right. Yeah. And there isn't, there's deception in this movie because the director's not telling the rest of the staff that this isn't, it's a real vampire and everything. But it doesn't have that sense of like, there's no protagonist in this movie who is sort of this like innocent bystander who gets caught up in this. The ones who are the crew. And, as we kind of have talked about, they're kind of the weakest part of this movie because they just aren't really a character. So I think that's where I'm like, oh, yeah, it's more about the movie making process.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
If it were from a different viewpoint, or if I don't know, Greta had more of a personality, then maybe it would be a little more gothic.
It could have been like a really cool movie, like from Greta's perspective, and she just catches like snippets of their conversations, like through the hallway or something, and like the audience doesn't fully know if he's really a vampire. Like that could have actually been a really fun movie.
I think that's where the movie loses me, is in the viewpoint that it chose. I think choosing the viewpoint of the director is the least interesting viewpoint.
That's a really good point to make about the movie. I still had fun watching it, but I will agree with you. I think a lot of the characters were not developed well enough, but I could watch Willem Dafoe eat a bat head for 6 hours straight.
It might be on YouTube. That if not, you should make that video and put it on YouTube.
Yeah. For my fellow alum.
Are there any other memorable scenes you wanted to point out?
I think I kind of covered a lot of the ones that really stuck out to me. I did really like the sort of chaotic ending. Like I personally actually really liked it where he's filming and then there's these three characters. So I think one is the producer, who I don't really care about. One is someone else who I don't even know what his role is, but one is Carey Elwes. And they're all kind of like weirdly like taking their turns trying to kill Max Schreck while Greta is on the bed like, ah. And it's kind of comical to me, because the whole time I was watching it, I was like, are these people actually like dying? Because it happens like
I think they are.
in kind of a Three Stooges way. Like, and I don't know, I kind of enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was just kind of ridiculous and stupid. And like the director the whole time is like yelling, like, get in there, it's your turn. And like, it's very weird. What were some of your memorable scenes? Nothing.
I don't have any.
Yeah, that's fair.
The one I had was him eating the bat.
Oh, it's so good.
I also like the scene they shoot where I almost said Peter McNichol, but it's Eddie Izzard. Peter McNichol plays the Renfield character in Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is the parody with Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
But it's Eddie Izzard and Max Schreck, and they're there, and Max sees the cameo,
Like
I guess,
locket, yeah, or something.
of
Yeah.
Greta, and says, "Your wife has such a nice bosom."
Yes. Oh, that is really good.
And I thought that was really funny because then when I watched Nosferatu after this, and that scene came up, and I thought, what's it gonna say? And it says, your wife has such a nice neck.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And that's
funny.
One of not to keep complaining about the movie, but I thought if they had said something like, all right, we're gonna have to make it say like your wife has a nice neck, or if they had just they just expect you to put in too much work, or expect you to know as much as the director knows about Nosferatu, and it's like, I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's true, because I didn't even like pick up on that part of the joke until you explained it. So that would have been a really nice inclusion.
But on a happy note, we love him eating that bat. We love him eating the bat.
So good.
So what else are you watching, reading, enjoying?
So I have been on kind of a Vin Diesel kick. I watched 2 Fast and Furious movies. I believe it was 7 and 8, because I was stuck at the airport, and those are great airport movies. And I think both of those, actually, it might have been 8 and 9, and both of those movies are really bad. I love the Fast and Furious movies. Like, genuinely, they make me very happy. Those ones were not very good. But since I was on a Vin Diesel kick, I decided to watch Pitch Black for the first time. Have you ever seen it?
It's been a long time, but I remember really liking it.
I loved it so much. It's so weird. I don't dabble a lot in like, in general, in like science fiction, and especially not in like sci-fi movies from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I was never like a huge fan of The Matrix, or like any, it kind of had like that, like dark sci-fi kind of had like a boom in that time, and I just like never really got into it. And I assumed Pitch Black was just like terrible because it had like Vin Diesel in it, and everyone like thinks Vin Diesel is the worst. And I am okay. So I looked up Vin Diesel because I was like really afraid that he's actually a terrible person, and he does have some assault case against him. I shouldn't have said some assault case, like it's nothing. Yeah, it's pretty recent. So just a disclaimer, like, it's still unresolved in this country. You're innocent until proven guilty. Who knows? But like, womp womp. So with that disclaimer out of the way, he's also like a really big fan of like D&D. Like, he's kind of a nerd.
He just seems like a big dork.
Yeah, like the whole Chronicles of Riddick was kind of like a passion project of his. Like, he really wanted to like be in it. He voices the character in video games that came out like afterwards. And I love him in this movie. I think he's honestly like does a really good job acting in this movie. Like, he seems like a completely different person than he is in like the Fast and Furious movies. And as someone who really only knows him from those, like, that's huge. I loved it. It has such weird like color grading. It's very strange. Some of the camera shots, there's this one, I think it's kind of iconic, this one shot where the camera just zooms in really fast at him, and he's sitting on a chair with like a little umbrella, and it like changed my life. Like I will never be the same after watching that. The CGI is horrible. The alien monsters are like so bad, but there's honestly not that many of them.
That's good.
I was kind of expecting like the ending to be this big huge blowout fight where like a billion of, and it kind of gets to that, but like it's not as much as I thought it was going to be. It's actually kind of a subtle ending. But I just enjoyed it so much. I had so much fun watching it. It's the supporting cast is really good. They really make you care about the other characters. If you haven't seen it, like, minor spoiler alert, a child does die, which is very exciting. Yeah. It's not, there's a couple of children, so it might not be who you think, but a kid dies. We love it when kids die.
We do. Yeah. I love when a kid gets eaten by an alien or something.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
How did you watch it?
I watched it on DVD. I'm actually pissed. I bought it. I wanted I think Arrow came out actually with a really beautiful. Yeah, and I've been like lusting after it. I want it so bad. But I was in Bull Moose, a semi-regional like DVD CD store, and I was like holding it in my hands, but it was like $40 at Bull Moose too, because it's not like they have sales there on there. It was so expensive. And then my brother pulled out a different copy, and it had like this really beautiful holographic cover. And he was like, "You don't even know if you like it yet. Why don't you get this one?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, just because the cover is like still pretty cool. So I got that, and I'm so mad because it was widescreen. No, full screen. I'm sorry.
Full screen.
Full screen. So like I enjoyed it so much, and it was full screen. So I can't wait to watch it in widescreen. I'm gonna get I think that Arrow.
A widescreen 4K special.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. I'm giving it 5 stars when I get that baby.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yep. I'm so excited.
I had a crush on Vin Diesel from a very young age because there was this picture of him in Entertainment Weekly magazine. He's in a Timex ad, and he is called an independent filmmaker, director, actor, and screenwriter. He hadn't done like anything at this point.
Yeah.
I remember, the internet barely existed where I lived, so I had a hard time figuring out who this person was.
Yeah.
But he was the most beautiful man I had ever seen in my entire life, and I lusted after him for like a decade.
Yeah. Wow. He does look so handsome.
He's so cute.
Wow.
He looks so fun. Like,
he does.
just everything about him. So if you want to see it, Google Vin Diesel Timex ad.
Yeah.
And you'll see it. He's in a little blue tank top.
Yep.
And
he's smiling so big.
He's smiling. He just looks like this is a guy who will take you out, treat you right, and show you a good time.
Right.
So
that's why I was so sad about that. No, the case, I hope it gets resolved in a way that is, the truth. But
yeah,
it's hard to hear. Every man in Hollywood just sucks. Oh, but this is what I was going to say earlier. I agreed very loudly earlier when you said something about, who was it? You said something about like a strong, muscular man or something. And I said like, exactly. I can't remember. It wasn't even that long ago. It was like literally.
I don't know.
This is so bad. Anyways, I think that's why I think I've talked about it on this podcast before. I kind of have like such a vendetta about like the whole rat boy thing, like the Timothy Chalamets, who I know you love, because I feel like for a short portion of time right before that, we were getting into like himbo territory, like all of these like kind of
yes, you're right,
beefy dumb dudes, and I love beefy dumb dudes.
Yeah.
I love a beefy dumb dude. And that's how I feel about Vin Diesel. Is like he just seems like kind of beefy. I wouldn't even say he's dumb though, because he is quite talented. He, seems very passionate about the things that he does. He seems to pick projects that like he really cares about. And he, it's really annoying when you go on Letterboxd, all of his top movies, how many are there? 8? Fast and Furious isn't even on there. because all of them are Marvel movies because he is the voice of Groot.
The tree.
Yes. And so as much as I hate
forgot
that,
about that.
yeah, and it like annoys me that that's like his letterbox page now. He like is so passionate about that. Like, have you ever seen the pictures of he showed up to like the premiere of the first one wearing like stilts so that he could be like this big tall tree person?
No.
He's so passionate about it. And like
I love
he goes
that.
in and he records every single line, even though all of them are I am Groot. Like they never reuse one. Like he records every single one.
I love that.
So like Vin Diesel holds a very dear place in my heart. You know, knock on wood, he's not the shitty person that he is, but also like, you know, I fully believe, you know, victims and people who come forward, but like I love a himbo. I love a beefy, like seemingly sweet guy. It's my favorite genre of guy.
I think I just like all guys. Like, so, you know, if there's like a type, I'm like, ooh, that's my type.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, because I like himbos too. Now that I have to like, that's tough though. I feel like the himbo and the rat faced boyfriend are two of my top types.
That's very fair. Yeah.
I need a rat faced himbo.
Himbo. Ooh.
Little pinch face, but big and bulky and stupid.
That's
the guy, I didn't even really see him as rat face, but other people do. The guy from The Bear.
He's ripped.
He's all jacked because he was in that Zac Efron wrestling movie. So maybe
right.
he can
he's
be
kind
my
of
himbo.
He kind of is, yeah. And he's really sweet. He has a ton of like every single week a picture comes out of him carrying a big bouquet of flowers from the farmer's market. Have you ever seen those photos?
Oh no, I'll look them up and imagine they're for me.
He's like the Venn diagram, himbo rat face boyfriend, and Jeremy Allen White is right in the middle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He'll be for me.
Yeah. So anyways, I watched Pitch Black. I loved it. I love Vin Diesel's performance. I'm going to finish watching the Fast and Furious movies probably next weekend when I go away because they are perfect airplane ride movies. They're absolutely incredible. So that is my recommendation.
Love it.
What do you have for us?
I finally watched The First Omen.
Oh, good. Yeah?
I watched it on DVD. And we talked about it a little bit when we talked about Immaculate because they're so similar. They are very similar. Yeah. They're both very similar and very different. Like on the surface, they're very similar, but then they're very different types of horror. And the horror of The First Omen is more my jam, I think, personally, than Immaculate. Yeah. I loved it. I loved The First Omen.
Oh, yay. That makes me so happy because I really enjoyed it too.
It was so fucking good. I don't normally get scared. And there were a couple scenes in that movie that freaked me out.
Yeah. Yeah. That is very fair. Yeah, it is. It's spooky.
Ralph Ineson is in it and his voice. And the actress, I didn't know her, the lead, she was very good.
Yeah.
I didn't really know where it was going, which was nice. So yeah, I don't have much else to say. But it was great. And I'd never seen The Omen from the 70s. So I did watch The Omen as well. And it was fine. I'm glad I watched it.
Yeah.
I've never seen Gregory Peck in anything that wasn't To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And he was old in it.
Yep.
And it was the type of movie where it was more ambitious than they had either the technology or the skills to pull off. There were a few bad scenes in that. It was directed by Richard Donner, who would go on to direct lots of movies with Mel Gibson, including like 4 Lethal Weapon movies.
Oh.
Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. And one of my all-time favorite movies, Maverick, with Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster.
Huh.
And my very first rat-faced boyfriend, who was the security guard in House on Haunted Hill, They got his rat face eaten off or whatever.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I first saw him in Maverick in 1994, and he was like my
Oh,
first like movie crush. But
wow.
anyway, yeah, that he also directed The Omen. Anyway, I watched both of those on DVD,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to mention a while back you had talked about Wildcat, directed by Ethan Hawke,
Oh, yeah.
and that is now on Canopy.
Oh, wow. Good to know. That makes sense.
I,
It's about a
I've not
literary
watched it yet,
figure.
but I might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The further away I am from it, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I think it's a movie where there isn't, just disclaimer, like a lot of plot or like anything like that. It's definitely a movie for vibes, but I would watch it again. Actually, I think I probably will watch it again. I'll put that on my little notepad.
I love that.
Yeah. But I'm glad you brought up The First Omen too, because definitely need to rewatch that since I've rewatched Immaculate twice for the podcast. So now so many of those scenes are getting mixed up with The First Omen. Because, yeah, like you said, plot wise and like horror wise, they're very different. But I mean, nuns in Italy, weird.
They're both in
baby
Italy.
things. Yeah.
Babies.
Like,
Yes.
yep.
Yes.
And
Pregnant nuns in Italy.
no, the one in First Omen, she is Italian, right? Or is she
No,
American too?
she's the one from
Oh,
her Italian roommate says Pissfield.
that's right.
Because she's from Pittsfield.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So they're both Americans who have gone to Italy to become nuns, and then kooky, weird child baby things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If it's really gross and really gory and nasty and scary, it was probably in The First Omen. There was some shit in that I just couldn't believe.
Yeah. Like I won't spoil it, but like you'll know what I'm talking about. Like the car scene with the car and the yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Traumatizing.
Yes.
Yeah. But it is really good. I need to rewatch that.
I think you should.
Okay. Good.
Well,
you should rewatch Pitch Black.
I really honestly I should rewatch
Yeah.
Pitch Black, and I want to.
If I buy it on
I'm gonna
Arrow,
try to
you can borrow mine if you want to. Because it's probably gonna have
bequeath me the widescreen.
Yes. I wouldn't.
That's
you
true.
have to really enjoy it. Yeah.
I would hate that. I never
Yeah.
did you see Chronicles of Riddick?
No, so now I'm gonna watch all of them because apparently too, I think it's not in production or anything, but there are like talks of there being a new one too.
Oh.
Because it goes Pitch Black, Chronicles of Riddick, and then Riddick, which came out in like 2014.
Okay.
So there's
I can't remember
actually
if that actually
3.
came out. And then
Yeah.
I think there's an Xbox game that's canon.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's like a different story.
Interesting. All right. I might have to. I'll watch
remember if I
YouTube
played
videos
that or
on that.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch that on YouTube.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Ghosties, for listening to us break down Shadow of the Vampire. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Please rate us and review us and share us with a friend. Until next time, stay ghosty. Bye-bye.
Bye.